Namaste to all. Perhaps it's first time in the human history that the entire world has come to a standstill. It is evident from this mess that we have created. We all need to rethink what our priorities are. Travel industry has also taken a setback, though humans have at the receiving end. Cultural as well as natural heritage are taking up a breath. This fresh breath may have a positive impact on the heritage, although it may have a temporary negative impact on the industry. Having said that, let's today in this session discuss on UNESCO World Heritage Sites of India. Friends, to begin with, let's understand the concept of heritage. What is heritage? Heritage is our legacy from the past, what we live with today and what we pass on to the future generations. Our cultural and natural heritage are both irreplaceable sources of life and inspiration. What makes the concept of World Heritage is its universal application. World Heritage Sites belong to all the people of the world, irrespective of the territory which they are located. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO, seeks to encourage the identification, protection and preservation of cultural and natural heritage around the world, considered to be of outstanding value to humanity. This is embodied in an international treaty called the Conservation Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage, adopted by UNESCO in 1972. Let us now look into some of the data that is available with regard to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. As on today, the total properties inscribed in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites list are 1121. Basically, UNESCO World Heritage Sites are categorized into three, that is, cultural category, natural category and mixed category. Out of these 1121 properties, 869 properties are in the category of cultural heritage, 213 are in the category of natural heritage, and 39 of them are in the mixed heritage. Apart from these, there are 39 properties which fall into the category of transboundary. Transboundary is something that a property which falls into boundaries more than one country. And there are 53 properties which are put into the list of danger. That means they require an immediate preservation and conservation mechanisms to alter this. And there are two which are delisted. For example, Dresden Elbe Valley in Germany, which was listed in 2004, was put into a danger list in 2007, because in 2006 the government of Germany laid a 4-lane national highway passing almost in the middle of the Dresden Valley, which made the UNESCO World Heritage Committee to delist it in 2009. Now, you must be wondering what goes into as the process of listing cultural or natural world heritage sites as World Heritage Site. Now let's understand the listing and nomination of World Heritage Sites. A total of 187 countries have signed and ratified World Heritage Convention, which can be abbreviated as WHC. Only these countries, as they have signed the convention and pledged to protect their natural and cultural heritage, can submit nomination proposals for properties on their territory to be considered for inclusion or inscription in UNESCO's World Heritage List. The nomination includes a 5-stage process. Let's try to understand these 5 stages or 5 elements. Stage 1 is tentative list. What is this tentative list? The very first step a country must take is to make an inventory of its important natural and cultural heritage sites located within its boundaries. This is known as the tentative list. So in simple words, a tentative list is nothing but the inventory of its heritage sites, and provide a forecast of the properties that a state party, that means a country, may decide to submit for inscription in the next 5 to 10 years. World Heritage Committee cannot consider a nomination for inscription on World Heritage List unless and until the property has already been included on the state party's tentative list. Now, moving from there, we try to understand stage 2, from tentative list to nomination file. This stage precedes tentative list. Once the tentative list is prepared, country can plan when to present a nomination file. The World Heritage Center provides advice and assistance in preparing a nomination file, which in fact requires to be exhaustive, having added with all necessary documentation and maps, and in some cases even legal documents. And the nomination then is submitted to the World Heritage Center for review and to check if it is complete. Once a nomination file is complete, with no loopholes, the World Heritage Center sends it to the appropriate advisory bodies for further evaluation. And once the advisory bodies have evaluated a nomination file, it moves into the next level or next stage. That is the advisory bodies and their role. Once a nomination file is submitted, a nominated property is independently evaluated by 2 advisory bodies mandated by World Heritage Convention. And what are these 2 mandated advisory bodies? These are ICOMOS and IUCN. ICOMOS stands for International Council on Monuments and Sites, and IUCN stands for Union for Conservation of Nature. Apart from these 2 international or WHC mandated bodies, there is a third body called International Center for the Study of the Preservation and Restoration of Cultural Property. And what does this do? This is an intergovernmental organization which provides expert advice on conservation of natural sites, natural as well as cultural sites, and also gives its inputs into training activities. After this, we will be moving on to the next level, that is the World Heritage Committee. Now, the World Heritage Committee comes into picture. Having a site nominated and evaluated, it is up to the Intergovernmental World Heritage Committee to make the final decision on its inscription. Once in a year, this committee meets to decide which sites will be considered for inscription on the World Heritage List. Also, the committee has the authority to defer its decision and ask for further information on the sites from a country or state's party. Having approved by the committee, it is now important to understand the 5th element of the nomination process, and that is the final one. In the process of criteria for selection of a site to inscribe to the World Heritage List, it is also important to understand that to be included on the World Heritage List, Sites must be of outstanding universal value and meet at least 1 out of 10 selection criteria. Now, this is about selection criteria. As on today, there are 10 selection criteria. These criteria are explained in the operational guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. The criteria is the main working tool on World Heritage. The criteria is regularly revised by the committee to reflect on the evolution of the World Heritage concept itself. As I told you, it's important as well as integral working tool of World Heritage Committee. It is evident that we need to understand the criteria for selection of World Heritage Site. Let's take up all the 10 criteria one by one. To begin with, criteria number 1. It is to represent a masterpiece of human creative genius. Criterion number 2. To exhibit an important interchange of human values over a span of time or within a cultural area of the world on developments in architecture or technology, monumental arts, town planning, or landscape design. Criterion number 3. To bear a unique or at least exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition or to a civilization which is living or which has disappeared. Criterion number 4. To be an outstanding example of a type of building, architectural or technological ensemble or landscape which illustrates a significant stage in human history. Let's move on to the criterion number 5. It is to be an outstanding example of a traditional human settlement, land use or sea use, which is representative of a culture or human interaction with the environment, especially when it has become vulnerable under the impact of irreversible change. And then criterion number 6. To be directly or tangibly associated with events or living traditions, with ideas or with beliefs, with aesthetic and literary works of outstanding universal significance. Criterion number 7. To contain superlative natural phenomena or areas of exceptional natural beauty and aesthetic importance. And then criterion number 8. To be of outstanding examples representing major stages of Earth's history, including the record of life, significant ongoing geological processes in the development of landforms, or significant geomorphic or physiographic features. Let's move on to the next criteria. Criterion number 9. To be outstanding examples representing significant ongoing ecological and biological processes in the evolution and development of terrestrial, freshwater, coastal, and marine ecosystems and communities of plants and animals. And the last criterion is to contain the most important and significant natural habitats for in situ conservation of biological diversity, including those containing universal value from the point of view of science or conservations. So, of these 10 criteria, if a World Heritage Site, be it a cultural heritage site or natural heritage site, or even if it is a mixed category heritage site, could either have at least one element of these criteria, subscribe to at least one of them, or more than one, which would suffice to make it pass through the process of nomination in the World Heritage Committee. So far, we have discussed the meaning of heritage and the concept of a World Heritage Site. We have also talked at length on listing and nomination process of World Heritage Sites and the criteria for selection of a site for inscription into the UNESCO World Heritage Sites list. And now, let me take you through the World Heritage Sites of UNESCO in India. There are in total 38 World Heritage Sites as listed on the website of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Out of these 38 World Heritage Sites, 30 of them are in the category of Cultural World Heritage Sites, and 7 of them are listed in the category of Natural World Heritage Sites, and 1 of them is in the category of Mixed. To start with, let me take the UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the category of Cultural Heritage in India. And to begin, Ajanta Caves. Ajanta Caves are located near to Aurangabad in the state of Maharashtra. These caves depict intensely decorated fresco paintings. There are in total 31 rock-cut cave monuments carved to narrate the story of Buddhism. These were also built to house Buddhist monks and pray. The caves were built in 2 phases. First one was during and subsequent period of the reign of Emperor Ashoka, roughly from 2nd century BC, and during the reign of Gupta period between 5th and 6th century AD. Agra Fort. Agra Fort is a historical fort in the city of Agra in India. It was the main residence of the emperors of the Mughal dynasty until 1638, when the capital was shifted from Agra to Delhi. Before capture by the British, the last Indian rulers to have occupied it were the Marathas. In 1983, the Agra Fort was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is about 2.5 kilometers northwest of its more famous sister monument, the Taj Mahal. The fort can be more accurately described as a walled city. The historic city of Ahmedabad. The historic city of Ahmedabad was listed into the UNESCO World Heritage Sites list in 2017. The walled city of Ahmedabad, founded by Sultan Ahmad Shah I in the 15th century on the eastern bank of Sabarmati River, presents a rich architectural heritage from the Sultanate period, notably the Bhadra citadel, the walls and gates of Fort City, and numerous mosques and tombs, as well as important Hindu and Jain temples of later periods. The urban fabric is made up of densely packed traditional houses, called poles, in gated traditional streets, called puras, with characteristic features such as bird feeders, public wells, and religious institutions. It is in the state of Gujarat. The rock shelters of Bhimbetka. The rock shelters of Bhimbetka in the state of Madhya Pradesh near to Bhopal were inscribed to UNESCO World Heritage Sites list in 2003. The rock shelters of Bhimbetka is a place where the earliest traces of human life on the Indian subcontinent was discovered. They are located at the foothills of the Vindhya Mountains in the Deccan Plateau and are an archaeological site for the Mesolithic period, and thus indicates the beginning of South
Asian Stone Age. The rock shelters comprise a group of 5 rocks which were discovered only in 1957 and are renowned for the Mesolithic era carvings and paintings. These paintings are instrumental in telling us about life and activities of the hunter-gatherers who preceded us and showed the coming together of art form and landscape during the Mesolithic age.
Mahabodhi Temple complex at Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya is located almost 96 kilometers away from Patna in the state of Bihar and is one of the Indian heritage sites recognized by UNESCO in 2002. It is an important religious center for the Buddhists as this was the place where Mahatma Buddha attained enlightenment. The holy Bodhi tree is the site where Siddhartha gained enlightenment and became Gautama Buddha. The famous Mahabodhi Temple was established in the reign of Ashoka the Great in about approximately 200 BC. It's one of the earliest Buddhist temples. Currently, the Mahabodhi Temple complex at Bodh Gaya comprises the 50-meter tall Mahabodhi Temple, the Vajrasana, sacred Bodhi tree, and the other 6 sacred sites of Buddha's enlightenment. The architectural work of La Corbusier, known as Capitol Complex in Chandigarh, the architectural work of La Corbusier across many countries, including the Capitol Complex of Chandigarh, was recognized as a World Heritage Site in 2016 as part of an outstanding contribution to modern movement of architecture. This was part of Le Corbusier's work, which he did in 17 countries in the first half of the 20th century. The Capitol Complex in Chandigarh also hosts the Legislative Assembly for both the states of Haryana and Punjab, High Court, and Secretariat. Located in Sector 1, Chandigarh, this Capitol Complex was built when Chandigarh was being developed as the capital of Punjab in 1950 after the partition of India. The Great Living Chola Temples. These temples, inscribed to the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1987, are in the state of Tamil Nadu. Built between 11th and 12th century AD by the rulers of Chola Empire, these remarkable 3 temples of cultural saga of Dravidian temple architecture are Brihadeshwara Temple at Tanjavur, Brihadeshwara Temple at Gangaikonda Choliswaram, and Airavateshwara Temple at Darasuram in Tamil Nadu. The Chola architecture, sculpture, painting, and bronze casting testify the height of architectural brilliance of the Chola Empire. Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, one of the busiest railway stations in the country and headquarters of Central Railways. CST was designed by Frederick William Stevens and took 10 years to complete. The station was opened in 1887, named as Victoria Terminus in honor of the Queen Victoria. The structure is built in Gothic style. Elephanta Caves. On an island called Elephanta, 10 kilometers away from the city of Mumbai, is a complex cave temples dedicated to Hindu deities and Buddhism. These rock-cut cave temples are dated to period between 5th and 8th century AD. Numismatic evidences show that these predominantly dedicated to Shiva. The cave temples were built by Hindu Kalachuri king. The cave temples were inscribed to UNESCO World Heritage List in the year 1987.